In case you're just joining us, where have you been? Myles Garrett has asked the Cleveland Browns to trade him. I thought the Cleveland Browns said that no matter what you gave them a couple of first-round draft picks, they wouldn't be trading him, but he just made that public and sent out a statement basically saying goodbye to the Cleveland Browns and the city of Cleveland. Next up is the Golics, the father-son team known for their football and great job on their DraftKings podcast. One of them seems to be getting smaller as he gets older. The other one, not so much. Here's Mike Golic and Mike Golic Jr.
Wow. Wow. Go on. Okay. I appreciate that.
Look at that. Yeah.
That's some great writing right there. That's some great writing.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks, fellas.
Accurate.
No, not wrong, especially not this week.
But, he goes by Big Mike, and you're bigger than Big Mike.
And the worst part about working with my dad has been the full head of hair and the weight loss. Like, as my dad has gotten healthier, who wouldn't want that for their parent, right? Doing well late in life as my dad goes to his remaining years and is taking as good a care of himself as he can.
Remaining years.
Yeah,
Are you in hospice?
Oh my God! Well, I mean, what do you? Is he's leading? I have a leash on, like the kids in the mall. Yeah, he puts a leash on me to walk around.
A lot of miles on this expedition.
That he talks so much better than I ever talked. He's smarter than I ever was. My only comeback whenever he rips me is, well, I have hair.
It goes to the well in that early and often.
And it works.
It works. Really sick.
Yeah.
If you fought right now.
Oh. Tell him about the changeover.
This was Easter, I think my junior year of college. Okay. So I'm, 295, best shape of my life. Dad's, double-digit shoulder surgeries in, and he's begun the weight loss journey. But we're back at my grandmother's house, so the house he grew up in Willowick, Ohio. And we had gone back and forth, and he had always said, whenever you think you're ready for it, we'll go out there. And he's a former collegiate wrestler, so he said, we'll go out there and we'll see if you can get up from off the mat. We did it in his front yard in jeans and polos after my grandmother had cooked us Easter brunch, and I embarrassed him in front of his entire childhood neighborhood.
He did in front of the whole neighborhood. Yeah, that was it. That was it.
They were all out watching, too.
He knows all the weak spots.
Well, that has to be Howie Long probably had this same moment.
Yes, exactly.
With his voice.
Yes. Oh, I'm sure he did. It's just a matter of when it changed over. If you ask Howie, he's going to say it never changed over. But we know it does.
He probably had that horseshoe
on
helmet.
On the helmet, it's exactly there. That dude looked so good in a uniform.
Yeah, he did.
We were both D linemen, and that's where the sameness ends.
All right, Myles Garrett, speaking of defensive linemen, has basically said goodbye to the city of Cleveland, the Cleveland Browns. What's he worth on the open market?
Oh, my gosh. Remember when he came in the league and there were executives that thought he was too philosophical to be a dog in the league?
Like dinosaurs.
Unbelievable. Well, the thing about it is, Dan, is how much power does an NFL player have? We know basketball players have power, but how much power does an NFL player? He has years left on his contract. So how much power can he actually wield? It's going to have to be the business decision on the side of the Browns to say, do we want to just force him to stay, or do we want to say, okay, he wants to be gone, get the best deal we can get?
Yeah, he's got to be worth, as close to quarterback prices in trades where you're talking about first-rounders or multiple.
First-rounders,
especially because you said they've got control. If you've got him and you've got 3 years left on a deal and he's in the prime of his career, a player like that who is in, it's him, Micah Parsons, TJ Watt as these guys that are true game wreckers that every offensive coordinator has to spend the first and last moments of their meetings talking about. There's really not a price too high to pay, I think, at this point for a guy like that.
Where does Jalen Carter come into that conversation with these defensive linemen?
Jalen Carter has entered superstar status. That was kind of Chris Jones, Aaron Donald, obviously, before he left, Chris Jones lining up a D tackle also at edge on third downs. But Jalen Carter is what Chris Jones does. They play on the other side of the line. And that's what, God rest his soul, guy played with Jerome Brown as an interior D lineman, played on the other side of the line. And it always doesn't show up in stats.
What do you mean the other side of the line?
He plays on the offensive backfield, makes penetration.
Okay.
It will make penetration on the center or the guard.
But doesn't get sacks.
And the thing is about it, sacks is kind of outdated now. It's pressures. It's pressure shows up in the stat book, but it's also on a running attack. If you make a running back go east and west and he can't go downhill, that doesn't show up in a stat book, but everybody on film knows it, especially the interior offensive linemen.
And we kind of went through that in the run game a little bit. I forget who it was over at ESPN Analytics that kind of tried to do that. Hey, maybe Aaron Donald's actually not as good of a run defender as y'all thought. And we all promptly sent that one back. And I love, Seth Walder and those guys do a phenomenal job. But we're like, maybe we've overcooked this take a little bit too much. 99's in the opposing backfield with that color showing up almost every other play. And Jalen Carter's kind of there, and he's got a little bit more like sand in his pants. Like, that's a guy. And when Aaron Donald comes out and says, I think he told LaShawn McCoy, that's the new me. Like, the next me has arrived in the NFL. That's really all you need to know.
Unreal.
And sand in your pants is?
Just a little more weight.
A little more weight.
A little more lead in your pencil.
Aaron, lead in your pencil. Oh, wait a minute.
I guess that one might be a little bit different.
That's
a family show.
That's the front area. We're talking about the back area here.
That would be on the show Get Up, if you know what I mean.
And you'd scream that really loud. Yeah.
Come on now. DeGrasse is here.
Wow. Holy smokes. Where are you sending this show, Mike? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Clip that one. The youngster said it.
Wait, so which one's Big Mike?
Yeah.
Hey, baby.
Go ahead.
Mike Golic, Sr. and Jr. here, host of Gojo and Golic on DraftKings Network here.
Wow.
The team more likely to blow out the other team in the Super Bowl.
Well, I think it's Kansas City. Even though they've won double-digit one-score games, they have the ability with Mahomes, with Xavier Worthy, who's going to be a home run every time he touches the ball, I think, to get that 2 to 3 score lead. I don't think they will. I'm actually going in Philadelphia in this game. God knows why. I'm betting against Kansas City. I mean,
haven't we learned, though, Mike?
I know.
Didn't we do this with Brady all the time?
Trying to help you.
Here's the thing.
I care about you.
I only have a few more years in this business. What the hell does it matter?
No, in life.
Well, according to Mike, I'm at hospice. But I do think that Kansas City has more the ability to blow off Philadelphia.
See, I would actually go opposite. I'm picking Kansas City to win the game, but if you ask me game script-wise, who would be in a position, I think it's Philly, just all the talent on that roster.
Yeah.
I think between Saquon Barkley and the home run threat there and what we saw, the NFC Championship round, A.J. Brown kind of reminding everyone there were points early in this season when even amid Saquon Barkley's MVP caliber year, people were like, that might be the most important player on the team when it's all said and done. So I think they'd be the team that would be more likely to, if this thing went away and went sideways, it would be because they put their foot down.
Well, you're wrong.
Okay. Nailed it. Flawless victory.
It's my analysis. He's wrong.
If Saquon Barkley doesn't win the MVP, will a running back win an MVP in our lifetime?
Wow.
Now, your lifetime is not that much longer.
I was going to say, I got a couple more Super Bowls in me.
Yeah.
Let's say the next
this year.
10 years, will a running back win the MVP?
I mean, you look at was the year of the running back change in teams from Henry to Saquon to Joe Mixon to Josh Jacobs, but I don't think the value is going to increase in the contracts because of it. I don't think so. I think Saquon is the one. Unless Derrick Henry has another, now he's going to be over 30 next year, unless Baltimore finally reaches a Super Bowl and he has another year like he had, he, in my eyes, would be the only one, unless you get a back that catches the ball out of the backfield like a Christian McCaffrey if he's ever healthy
Mike,
again.
This is the perfect story. Giants don't want him. We see it on TV unfold right before our very eyes. He goes to the Eagles. And that he changed their offense.
Oh, without question.
You rushed for 2,000 yards.
Yep.
Now, I know Lamar was great, and Josh was great as well. But if you, value is such a weird word.
Yeah.
It feels like the value of what he did for that Eagles team and Jalen Hurts, 2,000 yards. I think if he had gotten the record, then I think people it would have been easier for the voters to go, well, he did set the.
I think I had said on the show, if he'd have gotten the record, he'd get the MVP.
Okay.
I thought he would have got the MVP over Lamar, who I think
but
is going to get it.
But he chose not to get the MVP.
He chose, and the team kind of said.
Decision.
Yeah,
I agree.
It was the right decision. It was and if there's a record that can go down in the Super Bowl, Mike and I talked about it this morning, it's either 3 rushing touchdowns where you could tie it, or about 3 or 4 guys have it, because you saw Saquon and Jalen both get 3 touchdowns in the championship game. But how about the rushing record? 204 yards. Timmy Smith back in Super Bowl, 22 for you youngsters that will not, remember
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Fritzy remembers.
I do
Yeah.
remember. It was
Yeah.
10-0 Broncos in that game.
Yeah. But 204 yards. Now, I don't know if Saquon will
Yeah,
get
but
that
he's
much.
going to get Terrell Davis's all-time single-season rushing
He needs
record.
29 yards, I think, for that.
Yeah, 39 yards time.
I mean, it's something.
To Dan's original question, I'll say yes, we will. Like, I wouldn't have thought so before, but we've kind of seen the pendulum swing back, right? We're 5 years removed from this is a pace and space league. It's like the new SEC West where, hey, everyone that we thought was playing this physical brand of football before turned it into 11 personnel, nickel defenses. And then everyone said, oh, wait a minute, everyone got really light on defense. Let's go and run it right down their throat. And so you combine that, I think, reinvesting inside the trenches for a lot of people with an influx of young running back talented. Like Bijan Robinson in a couple of years could be in that situation if things don't materialize in Atlanta. Maybe he's a guy that the team in the right spot with the right line goes for. I mean, we're getting ready to watch one of them right now come out in the NFL draft this year. So you've got a few young guys that could be in that position talent-wise to, if they land in the right situation, break through.
When we look at, LeBron will never be greater than Michael Jordan in people's eyes. But can Patrick Mahomes be greater than Tom Brady? There's not this love affair for Brady that the admiration, the fandom for Mike was different.
Oh,
But, can Mahomes be looked at as better? What's he have to do to be better than Tom Brady?
Listen, I think two things. I mean, you think of the Patriots, how they were run by Belichick. Nobody said anything. And you look at Kansas City, they're fun. Andy Reid, and I hate to go away from your question, Andy Reid's going to be the winningest coach in the NFL. He's going to pass Don Shula. He needs 47 wins, 12 in 4 years he can do that. He needs 3 wins to pass Belichick for most playoff wins. He's going to be the winningest coach. Pat, while I disagree with it, quarterback and Super Bowl are joined at the hip, the number you win. So, and the number you lose, kind of like, LeBron with the number he's lost as opposed to Jordan not losing any. So I think Mahomes can reach Tom's, because he's, 28? And I mean, I think he could reach Tom's level for sure.
But he has to get to that number.
I think he has.
I don't think so.
I think he could get to a little less, but if he gets there, I think he's going to have it. But they're just more fun. Now, we are getting Kansas City Chief fatigue, right? Kind of like Tiger Woods fatigue, Golden State fatigue. You're kind of hoping somebody else wins, but I mean, they're a dynasty.
I forget who I had the conversation with, but I think our introduction to Pat was so different than with Tom. Like, they shock dropped Pat on us. We got the 07 Patriots right out of the gate with this version of Kansas City, and now we're getting to, like, the early 01, 02 ones where it's
more
a little more
defense.
grinded out.
Yeah.
Like, the career arc's different, so even now, as defense last year was the story for this team, and this year it's been, poised in close moments and still a lot of the defense leaning on it. Like, Pat's going to get a lot of that credit because he showed us early on he's the reason why everything goes around there. So I don't think it's going to take matching that same number or leaving the way Tom did at the end to beat all that. I think if Pat's close based on the ability, because he gives us that Aaron Rodgers ability. Like, you guys remember we had that conversation all the time. The best of all time versus the greatest of all time, because Brady had all the accomplishment, but Aaron Rodgers had all the ability. We got the dude with both now, so if you're just close, I think they'll give that tie to him.
And it's weird that I thought about Joe Montana. For such a long period of time, you see him walking down the street, you'd say that's the greatest quarterback of all time. Tom comes along, now he loses that identity. Now Patrick Mahomes comes along. He goes down the totem pole there a little bit. It's kind of, and he never lost, but still, it's one of those where you lose your identity a little bit.
And you see Jordan didn't. Jordan is 6-0, and Jordan's still the top dog. Joe Montana, maybe it's our age, Dan. Maybe Joe's because he's our age, according to Mike, and, losing the identity.
I was talking about Dan. I was talking about you.
Yeah.
Dan. Young, spry, full of life.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you're right about Joe. He just keeps falling down the totem pole a little bit.
Joe seems to be doing all right, though. Every year Notre Dame comes out with a new partner with some liquor company, and Joe's the face of it every
Nobody's
time.
feeling bad for Joe.
Doing great.
No, but Wright Thompson had a deep dive on Joe Montana, and it's a couple of years ago, but it really was illuminating that so much is attached to your legacy, like who you are, and then all of a sudden you're not that. And I don't know, it just made him, I don't know, and then I talked to him about it, and he's not sharing in his his awards, they're not around him.
Right.
He just, I don't know, and he was all banged up. He went through hell with his body, and I don't know, for some reason, the greater that Mahomes is and Brady has been, like Dan Marino. I think Dan Marino is one of the, you can say influential quarterbacks of all time.
Completely agree.
He was doing 5 wide in the 80s. Like, he was so far ahead of everybody.
Quickest release I played with and against when we were teammates for a year. But that's one of the reasons, Dan, I chose not to be one of the greatest players. Is I didn't want to then go through losing my identity,
well
right?
done.
Go through. I thought I accomplished that.
How about a
pretty
round
well.
of applause?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I
Damn.
will dare not to be great.
Follow your dreams, kids. Just set them dangerously low.
And your son has followed in your footsteps.
Well, he certainly has.
I went
hasn't
even
he?
lower. I was like, you know what? The NFL?
Yeah.
No. Let's, bottom out in college and then call it a day.
It's Mike Sr., Mike Jr., one's Big Mike, co-host of Gojo and Golic on DraftKings Network. It's great to see you guys. My best to the family.
Thanks. Yours as well.
Certainly
man.
your wife. And we'll come back. We'll close up shop. Last call for phone calls. What we learned, what's in store right after this.